Hello there, and welcome to Midland Earth, the home of all things pop culture within the nerdy, geeky kind of zeitgeist. So, like anything like Lord of the Ringsy, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC. You'll find it all here at Midland Earth. I am Matt.
I'm Lewis.
And this would be Sean, but it's our first recording and he couldn't even make it, so he's a skeleton. I have studied film in the past and love how it's made, what it involves. I love acting, I love anything to do with TV and film. I'm always there. My biggest thing is Marvel. I've got many of these, as you will find out. But I do love science fiction in general, and I wanted to talk about how it's becoming more and more relevant in our world as we evolve and technology becomes ever present in our normal lives. I suppose my favourite kind of things that I'm looking forward to doing on the channel is including you guys, so getting feedback from you, knowing what you want us to include in the channel and what your feelings are on the things that we're talking about, really. What about you, Lewis?
I'm also big into science fiction, fantasy, film and TV. I'm a former media production student, so I feel I've got a bit of a insight when it comes to the production side of things that I enjoy watching. Very much big into my science fiction side of things, so Star Wars, Doctor Who, even venture into a bit of Star Trek occasionally. But I do like my fantasy as well. So Lord of the Rings. What was the other one?
Do you like Harry Potter?
Yes, Harry.
Hey, you go.
Not fed up, am I? We can redo my bit.
We'll just leave it in.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm also a big gamer. So I'd like to talk about video games occasionally, and as you can see from behind me, also I'm a big Lego collector. You probably see that in coming episodes. They may change in the background depending on maybe the theme of the episode. I might have a different Lego set in behind us to sort of give you a nod to what you're going to be looking at. And then and there's Sean.
He doesn't have a lot to say.
He's not here today, unfortunately. He wasn't able to make today's filming, but he is a former film student himself. Not film, no, that's wrong.
Theatre.
So the channel itself, Midland Earth, it's got a bit of a nod to Lord of the Rings, obviously Middle Earth. So we're based in the Midlands, so we've done a bit of play on words there. And we're going to be looking at having topical episodes based around film, TV, games, books, comics, things like that. And we're hopefully going to be discussing reviews, reactions, fan theories, debates, top 10s as we move forward. And as Matt alluded to, we want you guys to be as interactive with us as possible.
As you may be able to tell from some of the decorations, this episode is mainly going to be focused on kind of Halloween-y kind of things. So we're going to be talking about like our favourite horror films. We're going to be reviewing the Marvel TV series Agatha All Along and our thoughts and feelings about that. And we'd love to have your comments and ideas about where you think it's going to go, and if you enjoyed it, and what were the parts that you thought could have been done better, I suppose. So yeah, that's going to be our first episode.
Let's jump right into it.
Right, so what are our overall thoughts on Agatha All Along?
I enjoyed it, personally. It's a bit different, obviously, especially for Marvel. It's obviously going a bit more down the supernatural route. I know we've had it with Doctor Strange and Wanda, but properly going in a bit more with the lore in terms of witchcraft and things like that. So
I think this, unlike WandaVision, was a bit more like, so I think WandaVision was kind of like a two-hander, because I think Vision, I know it's called WandaVision, they kind of focus on her, but I think that was more like a two-hander, whereas this is like more like a female-centric like show all the way through.
Yeah,
I think, rather than, well, I'd argue the end is a bit undermining, but we'll get there eventually.
we'll get to that.
But yeah, overall I really enjoyed it, and I think the characters are all great, and it's shot kind of like old school, but like that makes it kind of better. Where like the sets are all practical, and there's not a lot of CGI like all the way through, and it's like well acted. And overall, I just really thought it was. I'd probably put it in my top 5 out of all the TV shows, personally.
Yeah, it's definitely up there, especially considered against some of the more recent ones that have come out. But no, I enjoyed the practical side of it. You could tell that through the actual production of it. It's a lot more physical sets compared to some of the other shows that Disney have particularly done for the streaming services, which use quite heavily CGI. Mandalorian, for example, obviously it uses the volume, so you get a few practical things on set, and then everything behind it is CGI generated. Where this, certainly from my perspective, had more of the practical feel about it.
I think it shows that Marvel can do a good show without chucking loads of money at it. I think personally, because like it's definitely on the cheaper side of all the TV shows, but you can't really see that in the quality because it's so well acted, and the music is great, and the costumes are great, and I just really enjoyed it, I think.
Yeah, it was good. Very good. I also like the because obviously it is what it is. It's a spin-off of WandaVision, and from episode to episode, it kind of keeps that feel of WandaVision that you've got through the trials that are in that the witches are going down. It gives it a different feel and tone episode to episode, which is what WandaVision were doing. So it's a nice little callback to where it started. And at the same time, it's delving into those different aspects of witchcraft as well, because you've got, it mentions the different styles of witches, protection witches, green witches, and they look at like tarot in one episode, potion making in another, things like that. So it
definitely like builds out the mystical like backstory of the MCU, I suppose, so they can bring in things later down the line. But yeah, I like how it didn't just carry on the WandaVision thing as like a gimmick. It was actually like written into the actual plot that made sense, that was what was happening. Like in the later episodes, obviously it's revealed like why it is kind of like WandaVision. So it wasn't just a gimmick, I think, which is cool. But yeah, across the board, like I think all the casting and the acting was brilliant, and there were some great lines in it. But yeah, every character was really like interesting. There wasn't like a wasted person, I don't think. Even like somebody that didn't last very long, like Mrs. Hart or Sharon or whatever you want to call her.
Yeah.
But she was like kind of funny and kooky and kind of like the odd one out. And then, but she kind of even just served a purpose, I suppose. It was interesting. But yeah, I think the highlights character-wise are definitely, obviously, Catherine Hahn as Agatha was like, she brought a lot to that character. I think she was better in this than she was in WandaVision, to be fair. But, because she gets to like dive into it a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's like who the character is rather than like the mask that she was wearing in WandaVision, I suppose. But I was worried that they were going to like try and redeem her a little bit, but even by the end she's still kind of the same person, I suppose. But
just more fleshed out as a character.
They just kept her like villainous like most of the way through, to be fair. And a lot of the things that she was doing were for her own gain, I suppose, not for anyone else, which I thought was good. And who else was there character-wise?
So you've got Teen / Billy Maximoff / Wiccan.
I think he personally got more interesting once you knew that he was Billy. I think, which I suppose is kind of the point. But
yeah, you've sort of got a few nods in the early episodes, and could he be? Could he not be?
Yeah.
Teases as to who he was.
I do think that was probably one of the worst kept secrets of the show. Though.
Yeah, it probably was.
When it started, everyone was like, "Well, he's obviously Billy," but then I don't know. They did try and tease you with "Oh, well, is he Agatha's son?" And I was like, "No." It'd be a bit weird if that wouldn't really make sense. I didn't feel, but
I suppose that works for the casual viewer.
Yeah.
So someone that's not as up on their comic book lore as others might be. So Sean, for example, who is more of a casual viewer, those little teasers that they put in those first few episodes, is he a Maximoff? Is he Nicholas Scratch? It's nicely put in there for those casual viewers that are going to find out as it progresses. But then obviously you've got people that have read the comics that the series is going to be based on. They're going to have a bit more knowledge about it and go, "Yep, that's Billy Maximoff straight away." And then as it builds along, episode by episode, and you sort of get those bigger reveals as to who he is and what he's going to be moving forward. I think it worked rather well.
Do you think that because it was inevitable that they would have to do this because of the age gap, between them being in one division and being the characters that they needed to be? Do you think that they did a good job of transitioning him from being little to being this older version? Do you think they wrote that in well, or?
I think it did, yeah. The plot device for it, obviously, with the name escapes me now of the character he was before. It was William something.
Kaplan.
Yes, William Kaplan. So the way that they've wrote that in, he was a ordinary kid living with his parents and whatnot, and then tragedy happens. As Wanda's hex is all collapsing, so because Billy has more of Wanda's powers compared to Tommy, the ability for him to be able to sort of transfer his essence, almost Palpatine-like, into the nearest available corpse. Effectively, it kind of works rather well. It adds to that supernatural element that the show's obviously really going for.
I think Aubrey Plaza was a bit of a scene stealer as well. To be fair, every scene that she was in was I don't know. She was just had this kind of kooky, creepy energy that I think works really well in the show. I think she was brilliant casting for what was eventually Death.
Yeah,
but
did you clock on that she was
only Death? Because of the pop figure? Because it came as it sweep to the internet that Pop had released this thing, but I don't know if I did beforehand. To be fair, because I'm trying to think what came first, the episode 5 or the pop figure. But I think there was kind of a lot of when she was cackling at when it was saying that Death was talking to them and stuff, and she was laughing at that and things, and how she showed up when someone died. The first time she comes onto the road, she's there instantly, kind of thing. And but yeah, it was still well done, to be fair, with Lilia's episode being the one that fully reveals her death and things. It was really cool.
Got some nice little nods to her though, potentially being deaf.
Yeah.
I mean, the outfit that she's sort of wearing when she first comes into Agatha's house, when she's broken out of Wanda's hex, I
suppose a lot of her outfits are cloaked as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
and she was a knife. It was
the sort of the top, but they had that little hood over the top, and like I said, the curved blade knife. And then when you get to the episode, the tarot episode, and they sort of show the death card, it's almost in the same sort of outfit she was in when she entered that house. So that's the point where they're sort of going, actually, she might actually be Death instead. But again, she was a really good character. Really well cast, I think, as well. All of them were. I can't say that any of them were miscast. They all had sort of very good chemistry with each other.
I think it's
worked really well.
It's kind of diverse as well, but not for the sake of being diverse. It just like they're just people that they happen to come across. But then I suppose it kind of alluded at the end that Billy had kind of drawn those people into his like illusion, I suppose, because he'd already known of them or like met them before, which was quite interesting. But yeah. Also produced a banger of a Halloween song now as well. So yeah, got a new Halloween song to add to your playlist, which is good.
Yeah.
I like it that it's not just a song as well. It actually has more like emotional ramifications towards the end as well. That like it means something to Agatha more than anything, which kind of I suppose roots her as like the main character. But and how she used it to like manipulate covens and things, which was quite interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't see that bit coming, but that was a good little.
Felt that the finale, particularly when it was given her the backstory. You know, giving birth to Nicholas Scratch, the moving around, hunting witches type thing, and her stealing their powers and whatnot. It's needed to flesh out Agatha's character for the casual viewer that doesn't know the background. But for me, I think that should have came a little bit earlier in the series.
Yeah.
Because obviously the penultimate episode, you had the showdown between Agatha, Wiccan, and Death, and then you're doing a backstory as your finale.
Yeah.
Kind of has made it anticlimactic for me. Still enjoyed it, but it felt misplaced in the order. Good though.
I like that that episode kind of if you rewatch it, it kind of makes a lot of Agatha's actions make more sense. Yeah. You know, like even going back to WandaVision, you know, like she helps Wanda with the boys, like looking after them, and like when, Teen at the time is sleeping, she's like watching over him because obviously like her son died in his sleep.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like nervous about him and stuff, and like things happening to children and stuff, like she doesn't like it and things.
It's hinting at it through the run then that she's got this maternal nature towards him, even though she has ulterior motives.
And I suppose even at the end when she's a ghost, she kind of informs her reasoning of like helping him, I suppose, because she like wants to kind of be that kind of figure to someone else, I suppose, that she couldn't be to her own son. Which is interesting. But I'm intrigued to know where that'll go anyway. Because, there's a lot of directions that could go with it. I do kind of hope that they make her ghost look a little bit less goofy, though, if they use it again. So I think it did look a little bit kind of Ghostbustery.
It did kind of have that element. Yeah, it was the librarian look in the first one type thing.
Yeah. But yeah, the costumes overall were really good, to be fair. And I like WandaVision, it kind of jumped through time, so you got like, loads of cool different outfits and things.
Yeah. I enjoyed that because I say it sort of calls back to WandaVision, because whereas that was obviously based on sitcoms from varying different decades, so obviously the styling would change from episode to episode. This has then done it as well, depending on the different trials that they're doing and such.
I mean,
so just sort of
even the structure of they've got to escape, I suppose, I suppose that's why he's got Houdini posters in his room and stuff, is it? I think that's where that came from in his head. It's quite clever. But yeah, I mean, what was your favourite episode, do you think? If you had to pick one.
Ooh.
I know on the internet the episode 7's going down quite well. Like apparently there's like a huge boost in the viewership after that episode apparently. Well, in that episode specifically got a lot of views apparently. But yeah, I did like that one. It's very well written, I thought.
not too sure which one I'd say is definitively my favourite episode. I thought they were all pretty much equally as strong, really.
Yeah.
Other than the series finale, which I said was, for me, a bit of an anticlimax. I suppose episode 8 is for me where it should have ended, because you have the showdown between the three of them, and obviously the way that it ends, they could have sort of left it at that, and then Billy goes off and
could have.
To look for.
Do you think the reveal of her being a ghost could have been like a post-credit scene?
Potentially, yeah. Because then that could have. They did run it that way, and post-credit scene of appearing as a ghost as he's ready to go off to find Tommy. That could then lead into a second series, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which is why that's how I would have done it. It's then teasing what's coming forward, but depends where they're going to go with it now, I suppose. They're going to appear in Vision Quest. They're going to get a second series themselves.
I don't know if Vision Quest is going to be more. I don't know, I'm kind of hoping it's going to be more tech-based, but I don't know. But we haven't heard anything about that yet, so hopefully stuff will come out soon. Because I'm looking forward to that one, a bit more of Ultron, which has always been one of my favourite villains. To be fair, I'm glad they're bringing him back.
Yeah.
Can actually be a bit more of time with that character rather than it being like the day of Ultron, not the actual age of Ultron.
Do you think they're going to do then with Rio's character, or Death? Do you think she's going to make a reappearance?
I hope so. I mean, it's an interesting character, and I like that look. The semi-skeleton face is pretty cool. But she could easily be in the Avengers films and stuff. They could even use her. I don't know if she has any resurrecting kind of abilities, but if they wanted to go down the route of potentially bringing back characters, they could use her to do that, I suppose. But
you thinking of Wanda, or?
I mean, I think personally that the Young Avengers are going to be like to do with the Wanda thing, because apparently there's some kind of run in the comics where like the Young Avengers either try and find her or bring her back or something to like help with something. So I don't know whether that's what the Young Avengers job's going to be in the wider kind of Avengers films. The music in this show was pretty awesome as well, I thought, to be fair. You know, like they used the Witch's Road kind of song as the score in the background quite a lot, which was cool, and Death's theme was banging as well, like the ominous kind of like bassy, creepy music was really cool.
Nice villainous tone to it.
But like, I like that it didn't like pull any punches the show either. Like the deaths were like proper deaths. Like people didn't just come back, and they weren't afraid to like stick to their guns and stuff as well. You know, like how they kept Agatha like pretty much evil, and they're like when they killed somebody, they killed them. Because like I was thinking in what episode was it, like 8 or something? You know, when they showed Alice on the floor, I was like, oh, they're not going to have like resurrected Alice. That'd be a bit of an undermining of the function of that character. But no, they just kept her dead, which was pretty cool, to be fair.
I think it showed that each character's death served a purpose as well.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Mrs. Hart, Sharon Davis, whatever name she wants to go by, she's picked, and she's not a witch. She's picked by Agatha to purely make up the numbers in her coven. And the fact that she allowed her to die after drinking the poison kind of shows the ruthless side that Agatha's got. Obviously Alice dies protecting them. I know Agatha drains her other powers, but she's doing it to try and protect the group as a whole. Lilia dies saving them from Salem 7. She sort of willingly sacrifices herself to stop them. So each death sort of has a meaning as it goes along.
Yeah, it's not just
cannon fodder, kill them off.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. I don't think what I can say now. I like that. I mean, you can call Death the villain, but she's not. Well, I don't call them she, 'cause it's like an entity, but they're not really the villain, are they? Because like they're just doing what Death does. It's just like a thing, isn't it? Like Death's supposed to take people to death. Like it's not a choice. Like that's just what they do. Like, and she even says like, "It's not my choice. This is my job to do this. Like I'm not picking and choosing. Like the person's died, I have to take them," kind of thing. So like it's good that I thought she was quite good at embodying that. You know, like she's just like dead casual about it.
Yeah,
really interesting. But the cackle as well. I thought the cackle on the broom was supposed to be like a take the mick kind of thing, but I like that she kept it later on as well.
yeah.
It was just like a part of the character, which was interesting. But yeah, they definitely Marvel are getting good at like doing seasonal television as well. I think, you know, like with Hawkeye being at Christmas and
Yeah, that worked rather well. I did enjoy that series.
yeah, and obviously Agatha being Halloween, and they had like Werewolf by Night and stuff, which was really like zoned in on the season. It was really cool, and it fits in nicely.
Yeah, so if we're going to rate the series, then what would you give it? You mentioned earlier you'd probably have it in your top 5 in terms of the Marvel series themselves. We're going to have a rating system. What are you going to rate it out of?
Are we doing stars? Being 5 out of something, or 10, or what do you reckon? Ratings or
5's normally the normal.
So 3.5, maybe.
3.5 stars, rings, pumpkins.
Who?
Pumpkins.
I suppose we could say seasonal and say pumpkins. Skulls.
3.5 pumpkins or skulls. What do you say, Sean? Nothing.
Right, okay.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's probably about 3.5. I think. To be fair, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I'd probably agree.
There's not many 5s on the list, I don't think. To be fair.
No. Not as of yet, but it's definitely up there.
But yeah, there's a lot of like quite deep and dark like subjects in this TV show. To be fair, I know it's like kind of like a zany kind of spooky show, but it does talk about quite deep subjects. You know, like loss and death, and like even like Lilia's episode kind of verges on, you know, like mental illness and stuff, you know, like where she says like things like her mind's getting worse as she gets older kind of thing. And that's kind of a metaphor for like how your mind changes as you get older, I suppose.
Yeah.
And like near towards death you can get like a clarity, can't you, like an acceptance and things. I thought that was really interesting. And they kind of used it to talk about lots of different aspects of life, I suppose, which was good. Which I suppose kind of WandaVision kind of did as well. It's interesting that like you're saying, there's like quite similarities between both of them, but I think WandaVision's about loss as well, isn't it? And so is this kind of thing. So it's cool that they're like
just echoing each other, aren't they?
Sister shows, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, I'd say about 3.5. What would you say?
Yeah, I'd probably go 3.5. It's a nice average score for a good show. It's not one of the top end ones, but at the same time we've had some worse ones.
That's for another video.
Yeah. Which one? Let's see. Top 10 maybe.
Right, this is the part of the show where we pick out a couple of news items from the week and discuss them, a couple of them at length, just to hash out our thoughts and feelings on them and get some comments from you guys. Agatha All Along has currently got a 83% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty good, to be fair, considering how badly some of them have done. Secret Invasion, and an 82% audience score, which I think is pretty cool, to be fair, because it's not a big difference between critics and audiences, which isn't always the way. It puts it just below Falcon and Winter Soldier and above She-Hulk. So I personally would put it a little bit higher than Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I think that's pretty good, to be fair, for a seasonal Marvel show, I think, personally. And Tom Holland and Zendaya have a read a draft of Spider-Man 4, which is pretty exciting, and they seem pretty happy with it and say that it's a real movie. I don't know what that means exactly, but I guess that's good. And unfortunately, Blade has been kicked off the release slate for Marvel in the future completely, which doesn't bode well. But what will come of that, we'll yet to see. So, and in other slightly different news, Disney apparently is not very happy with the performance of the most recent Doctor Who episodes, which have underperformed by 1.5 million views per episode compared to Jodie Whittaker's last season. So, future of Doctor Who with Disney is apparently, how I'd call it, up
in the air, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit chucked in the air at the minute, but we'll see. I mean, I personally liked it, but I don't know what you guys think. What would you like to talk about out of these four, Lewis, preferably?
I saw that Tom Holland and Zendaya had read the script for Spider-Man. Saw an interview, well, a clip of him on it was the Late Show over in America.
Mm-hmm.
And they were asking him about Spider-Man 4 and whatnot. And was it the Late Show or was it Jimmy Fallon? It might have been Jimmy Fallon.
Mm.
Asking him as he does, because they expect Tom Holland to
say a lot
when he's not meant to,
Yeah.
spoil a few things.
Mm.
He's very much like Mark Ruffalo in that sense.
Mm.
He just sort of pretty much outright came out with it and said, "Is it happening?" And Tom looks into the camera and goes, "Yeah, it's happening. Production's starting next year."
Mm. Did you hear that apparently he knew about Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom like ages ago?
I did, yeah. It's kind of.
Do you think the sniper that's been like following him for ages is allowed to retire now? Do you think?
No. That sniper's still going to be going around shadowing him, especially when he gets the script for Doomsday and Secret Wars. But
I suppose.
No, it's interesting. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so I expected there to be a fourth one. It's going to be interesting to see how they progress with it now, as he's completely alone on his own.
I'm intrigued by the fact that Zendaya is in it, to be fair, because I think it would have been nice if he had been on his own, but this implies that she's there again. So I suppose, like, what kind of capacity is she in it, and how much is she in it? Because like the whole thing at the end of the last one was, he's had to like let his friends and his like girlfriend and like his past go kind of thing.
Everyone's forgotten.
If she's in it again, then does that kind of undercut that? I don't really know, but
possibly. I mean, I get why they wanted to bring her back.
Yeah,
she's a big name. They've got a good on-screen relationship as well as obviously what they've got off-screen.
Mm.
I'd kind of have liked maybe now, as they've certainly for this one, maybe for Spider-Man 4, maybe they look at introducing a different love interest. So you've got Gwen Stacy. I know obviously they did that with Andrew Garfield, but they could have also gone down the Felicia Hardy route.
Mm.
So they may yet still do that, but that would have been my take on it. I'd have liked them to maybe have looked at one of those two characters instead. Certainly for the next Spider-Man film.
Apparently this film's going to be in between the Avengers films, is it? Which seems a bit of a weird place to be for a sequel. Because that means like he's got to, like, unless it's like a flashbacky kind of film, which is set before Doomsday, it's got to happen in between Doomsday and Secret Wars.
In the comics, he gets the symbiote in the Secret Wars comics. So I suppose if it's serving as the in-between film between Doomsday and Secret Wars, and this might be where they do introduce the symbiote to him. He's then got it when he then leads into Secret Wars.
Could do that, yeah.
So it might be why they're doing that. But it'd be interesting. Production started, or it's starting filming wise. I think they said in the interview next summer, I think it was.
What, for Doomsday?
No, for Spider-Man, sorry. Production for that is starting next year.
I do kind of hope they bring Miles Morales into it as well. That'd be quite cool.
You did say that as well in
he said
a similar interview. He wants to act like Downey Jr. did to him, to a Miles Morales style character.
That'd be pretty cool.
It would be good to have them both together because you sort of get a nod to Miles Morales in Homecoming. So Donald Glover's character is supposed to be his uncle, who's the Prowler.
And you see the Prowler in. You actually see the Prowler in one of the animated Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
It's quite cool.
So he could very well already be out there. They've just not introduced him yet. And the other one, I suppose, is because it's only 12 months on since the deal was announced.
Is that
With Disney and Doctor Who, if already they're not happy with what would be global ratings, really, because obviously it's not shown on Disney Plus here in the UK. It's shown on BBC. But if they're not happy with the ratings that they're getting globally, that's going to have a knock-on effect to future series, I suppose, because they've got a big budget coming in from Disney, which is why the special effects in this recent series has gone through. The production values has gone up because they've got more money.
I don't know whether Disney kind of overestimated, because obviously it's a big jump up from being on BBC to like being on. I mean, I know BBC goes into different countries and stuff, but like Disney's like a juggernaut into it. And I don't know whether they thought, oh yeah, it'll immediately like hit with American audiences and stuff and like be like a massive hit, but I don't know. I think it's just going to take a while for it to build up to the kind of numbers that they want. I think they like immediately thought it would be like an instant hit, but it hasn't been.
Yeah, do you think they've seen it as, oh, this is one of England's flagship shows, so we'll get it, we'll pump a load of money into it, and then we'll be able to recoup a load merchandise-wise.
Yeah.
And it's just not hit that level in terms of what they're seeing in terms of viewership on Disney Plus.
I mean, I don't feel like that's the cast's fault or anything. I think they're all like Ncuti Gatwa was like a good Doctor. I really enjoy him as the Doctor, and I get like what Russell T Davies was trying to do with like him being more like emotionally available and stuff, and he like talks about how he's like feeling and like he cries a lot and like he kind of lives on the edge of his sleeve kind of thing. I quite like enjoy that new take, but I don't know whether modern day audience kind of needs to adjust to that possibly. But what's your feelings as a proper Whovian and more of like a fringe one?
Again, I like him as the Doctor. I think he's a very good Doctor. He's got a load of potential to go with the character. I was a bit unsure about the companion, Millie Gibson, her character. I wasn't.
Do you think
wasn't overly thrilled with her as a companion as such?
Do you think where her story was satisfying or not really?
Not to a huge extent. Had some good episodes, but I think maybe one of the reasons it's not performing as well, in Disney's eyes especially, is, and this is something that for me happened quite a bit during Jodie Whittaker's time. They've taken quite a lot of topical things, which is something Doctor Who's always done. It's always been topical, and aware of what's going on at the times around it. But it normally does it in a relatively subtle way. It's not in your face. But certainly for the last 4 series, so the 3 for Jodie Whittaker and Ncuti Gatwa's first one, certain things are being thrown in your face quite a lot. And I suppose when you're looking at it globally, that might be all right over here, but there might be certain topics that they're bringing up in certain episodes. So obviously one of the ones that springs to mind is the one where they're on the, he's saving the people on the, I can't remember the name of the episode now. They're on the planet and it's all sort of based like Big Brother type thing. It's all
like
social media type thing.
Yeah.
And at the very end of it, they're all heavily racist towards him. And obviously that's subtly played out throughout the episode. You get little hints from the characters and whatnot. There's something a bit sinister about them and whatnot. But then it's massively thrown in your face at the end. I don't think really he's resolved that much. He screams in sort of anger and anguish that he's not able to save them because of their ridiculous prejudice towards him. But maybe that's the sort of thing that isn't going down well in other countries, and that's what's affecting the viewership.
Yeah, really.
Whereas over here, say, you know, it's been around for 61 years now, so we're sort of used to the way that Doctor Who runs.
Yeah.
The Americans might be to an extent because obviously they've had it on BBC America before. But then when you're looking at shipping it out to other countries that can subscribe to Disney, they might not be used to that level of storytelling when it comes to topical side of things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's having the knock-on effect.
Yeah, potentially.
But we'll see. Again, Ncuti Gat was confirmed in an interview recently. I think he was on Graham Norton. His second series is pretty much completed now. It's going into post-production. And Series 3 has been greenlit as well already. So he's definitely getting 3 series.
Is that good for one single Doctor? I don't know what the most is, to be fair.
For what's classed as New Who, 3 series is certainly the average. Tennant had 3 series plus
That's
6,
it. I feel like
seven specials he had. Matt Smith had 3 series. Capaldi had 3. Whittaker had 3. It was only Christopher Eccleston that had the 1.
Yeah.
So 3 is sort of the average for New Who anyway.
New Who. Oh, I've only just heard that.
No, have you heard that?
No, I don't know.
There's Classic Who, so
I like that.
William Hartnell through to Paul McGann's Classic Who, and then from Christopher Eccleston to now is New Who. I'm going to do a bit of a topical bit now. So we've been filming around the Halloween weekend, so we figured we'd finish this episode just having a quick discussion really about the sort of things we like to watch around Halloween. Films, TV shows, things like that. We'd like, if you'd like to, drop in the comments or messages on our social media, which we'll follow at the end, and let us know what you kind of like to enjoy watching in and around Halloween. And Matt, got any particular favourite films or TV shows you like to watch? Spooky season rolls around.
I mean, I don't always get to watch them as I have children, which is annoying. But I do like a few films that, if I ever get some time with just me and the wife, I do like to put on. One of my favourite films for the spooky season is definitely Scream, the first one, not the franchise as a whole because it gets a bit choppy. But that first film is like really good. I love it. Like, it's well acted, it's well written, it's well, like, the plot moves along at a good pace and some good twists and stuff. But yeah, I love Scream. Scream's got to be up there, I think. But yeah, also I always call this film like a ghost train of like a film. But Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. I love that film. It's so like jump scary. It's proper, makes me laugh. Like, some of it's proper like slapsticky kind of ghost trainy jump scares, but it's proper a good spooky season film to watch because it's proper like classic. All the Raimi-isms are in it and everything. I love it. What kind of things do you?
I agree on
gravitate to?
Scream. One of the things I studied, certainly at school, media studies, we did like a good 6 months on the horror genre. sort of start to finish. But we spent, of those 6 months, we probably spent a good 2 months specifically on the slasher genre. And for me, Scream is up there.
It's kind of my entry into it, really, because I probably watched it a bit too young when I should have.
Oh, I definitely watched it too young. I think I was 7 when I first saw it. So but no, I enjoy all of the first 3.
Yeah, it is a good trilogy.
Definitely.
It is a good trilogy.
The 4th one I kind of enjoyed, and then the 5th one, I get it, but it's probably in the typical slasher trope at this point. It's probably going a bit too far.
I like the change of setting. Change of setting is interesting.
But yeah, I do enjoy Scream. I also like, it's more of a psychological thriller horror type thing, but I also enjoy Silence of the Lambs. I'm watching that this time of year. The Shining, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I know my partner Amy's not a massive fan of The Shining. She finds it a bit dull.
Apparently Stephen King doesn't like that film, but I like. Obviously, I haven't read the book, so I only know the film. But I really enjoy it. Jack Nicholson's brilliant in that film.
Yeah, it's not just films though. This time of year, I think as well, you can probably look at binging a couple of spooky TV series. So it's always a good time to rewatch Buffy, Vampire Slayer, or The Walking Dead.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
You've got to be committed for The Walking Dead, but you know Buffy's.
I mean, Buffy's long. Buffy's like what?
7 series.
Yeah, and they're not short. Like that took up like my whole teenage life. That TV show.
Yeah, but there's the sort of things I like to throw in the background around Halloween.
There's some really good Halloween episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well. Yeah, that's banger.
Any others for you?
One more recent horror film that I really enjoyed because it was quite original was Don't Breathe, because the concept of that film is awesome, where it's a bunch of thieves breaking into a house to steal from this guy, and then the guy turns out to be I think he's supposed to be ex-military, but he's blind, but he's taught himself how to maneuver around his own house. So he essentially traps them in his house and then hunts them in his own house, which is awesome.
I've not seen that one.
It's awesome. You should watch it.
It's worth it.
It's really atmospheric as well. It's good to watch. It's proper tense horror where you don't know what's going to happen next, and the bad guy in it's awesome. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Don't Breathe to horror fans.
Give that one a go.
And A Quiet Place as well, because that's also super tense. And it's obviously, by the essence of the name, it's very quiet and it uses sound in really interesting ways and things. So yeah, I quite like the more unique horror films.
Yeah,
they're very tense. I think tension definitely scares me more than gore and grisliness. I think definitely. But yeah, there's to be some of my recommendations.
What about you, Sean? No, nothing.
Guess not.
It's not very talkative today, is he? Really? One of the things, it's not so much obviously a film and TV based, but one of the things we like to do, especially around Halloween, is horror mazes.
Oh yeah, I've never been one myself. I think I'm too much of a chicken, personally.
No, they're really good fun. I'm one of those people that's I go around, and obviously you've got people jumping out at you, and depending on which ones you go to, they can touch you and things like that. I go around laughing. So they don't really target me as much because I'm walking around just laughing like some kind of psychopath. And then you've got people behind you that they're then targeting and they're screaming and whatnot. It just makes me laugh even more. But I enjoy a good horror maze. It's definitely worth it.
Maybe I'll try.
Next year, we'll go.
Drag the wife.
Film it.
And drag the wife to one.
Not that you can film it when you're in there though. I don't let you do that.
Just when you get out and you're sweaty and terrified. But yeah.
We could do it we could go, but instead of filming it, we just do a voice note.
Well,
and then we'll sit here.
Take a dictaphone.
We'll sit here and just sort of listen to the heavy breathing and the jumps. If we take Sean will be terrified.
Oh God.
You'd be absolutely terrified.
That'd be like comedy gold.
It'd be comedy
Getting shoved in one
gold,
of
but
these
it'd just
stuff.
be it'd work well as an audio podcast. Like just literally listening to Sean go around a horror maze, heavy breathing and screaming like a little girl.
Middle Earth, the horror. What's it? Special.
Yeah, be like an audio version of Blair Witch. Right. Well, brings us to the close of this particular episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've had fun making it. I know we sound a bit ropey at times, but this is our first one. We're going to be a bit shaky from time to time.
It's been good to get the conversation going anyway, and hopefully you can comment and like, and we can start the evolution of this channel going, hopefully.
Our next episode, we're potentially going to be looking at doing a reaction to the most recent Skeleton Crew trailer. It's due out beginning of December, so as Star Wars fans, we want to give that a watch, see what we think, and then go from there.
We've got a lot of ideas, but doesn't mean we're not open to taking more from you guys. So anything that you'd want from us, just drop us in the comments and we'll try and make it happen.
Hopefully Sean will be here with us next time as well. Or if not, Bones here will make do, or maybe a different guest. Might bring somebody else in with us. Change of opinion. But anyway, until next time, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you soon.